So, we use the past tense to talk about the past, the present tense to talk about the present, and the future tense to talk about the future, right? Well, not exactly. Did you know we can also use the present tense to talk about the future? And did you know we can also use the past tense to talk about the future? Well, in this video, we're going to focus on that. I'm going to teach you how, when, and why we use the past tense in English to talk about the future. Hi, I'm Greg from EnglishWithGreg.com. Welcome to the channel. Here I teach you advanced English pronunciation, vocabulary, and grammar. This week we have a grammar lesson for you, and we're looking at how and when and why we use the past tense in English to talk about the future. Now, I did a video a few months ago explaining the difference between the past simple and the present perfect. The past simple is I ate. The present perfect is also used to talk about the past, and this is I have eaten. And you can watch the video that I did to explain the difference between those tenses in that video up there. But basically in this lesson, we're just going to be looking at the present perfect, and some examples of present perfect sentences are I have finished my homework, we have had lunch, I've passed my exams, and I've finished the book. Now, very briefly, we use the present perfect to talk about actions that happened in the past, which still have an effect now. I know, even for me, that explanation has always seemed a little bit like, what? So let me just give you some examples using these phrases here. I have finished my homework. That happened in the past, but the result now is that now I'm free. I've finished my homework, so now I'm available, I'm free. We have had lunch. Okay, in other words, now I'm not hungry anymore. I'm not hungry. I can go out of the house and I don't have to think about cooking or eating. No, that part of my day has finished. I have had lunch, which affects the present situation. I have passed my exams. Okay, great. So now I have a qualification. Now I can look for a job. Why? Because I have passed my exams. It happened in the past, but it affects the current situation. And I have finished the book. So now I can get a new book. I can go to the library. I'm looking to buy another book. I've finished the book, happened in the past with a result on the present. Is that clear? Right, now I want you to have a look at these sentences. I'll call you at 5:30. Let's meet at 2 p.m. I'm going to look for a job in September. Can I borrow that book later in the year? Okay, so look at the times in red there. They are all moments in the future. 5:30 p.m. Okay, it depends what time of the day you say that, but in this context, it's obviously a time in the future because I use the word will. I will call you at 5:30. The same with 2 p.m. Okay, I use the future tense with will, so it's obviously some moment in the future. I'm going to look for a job in September. Again, going to, we're talking about the future, so September is a moment in the future. And later in the year. Okay, it doesn't matter when you say that, that is definitely some moment in the future. Easy. Right, let's have a look at some other moments in the future. 11 p.m. Sunday. December. I finish my homework. What? That is a moment in the future because right now I have a lot of homework to do, but at some time in the future I will finish my homework. So we have to think that I finish my homework is, bam, a moment in the future. My wife comes home. Again, what? Yeah, I'm home right now. My wife is at work, but at some point in the future, she's going to come home. So we take the action, my wife comes home. That moment when she opens the door and says, hello, bam, it's a moment in the future. Okay, another moment in the future. I have finished my homework. Wait, I have finished my homework in the past? That's a moment in the future? Yes. And here's why. Okay? Let's imagine that I finish my homework at 5 p.m. 5 minutes later, at 5 past 5, we are in a situation in which I can say to you, I have finished my homework. Because in that situation, in that moment, the action of finishing my homework has been completed. That situation happens at 5 past 5, and that is in the future. So listen to this. I will call you when I have finished my homework. I will call you when, and pay attention, we need the word when I have finished my homework. Okay, so when that moment comes, when I can say to you, I have finished my homework, when that moment happens, I will call you. So that is the construction I want you to focus on in today's lesson, but there are some alternative expressions we can use. One is, I will call you when I finish my homework. The difference between this and I will call you when I have finished my homework is minimal. It's so small. People use both expressions interchangeably. And the most common expression is I will call you when I have finished my homework. If I have to explain a little difference between them, then it is that I will call you when I finish my homework. That gives me the impression that I'm doing my homework, finished, boom, call you. Okay, however, I will call you when I have finished my homework, then okay, maybe it's 5 minutes later, maybe it's 10, 20, 30 minutes later. It's not really specific, it's just in a situation where I can say, I have finished my homework. Right, I think we need to look at some more examples just to make this even clearer. Hey, let's meet. Do you want to meet? Yeah, let's meet. Let's meet after I've had lunch. Let's meet after future, I have had lunch, past. Okay, imagine I have lunch every day at 1 o'clock. At 5 past 1, I'm eating lunch. But at 2 o'clock, lunch is definitely finished. And I am in a situation in time in which I can say to you, I have finished my lunch. So, let's meet after I have had lunch. We can also say, let's meet when I have had lunch. Again, just focus on these words that link the two parts of the conversation. They're very important. So far, we have when or after. Let's meet after I have had lunch. Let's meet when I have had lunch. Both mean the same thing. Both are correct. Both are acceptable. Both are common. Okay, here's an interesting example and one which makes it even clearer. I'm going to look for a job once I've passed my exams. Okay, once is the same in this situation as after. So, I'm going to look for a job after I've passed my exams. I'm going to look for a job once I've passed my exams. Hey, we can also change the order of the sentence, that's fine. Once I've passed my exams, I'm going to look for a job, or after I've passed my exams, I'm going to look for a job. But yeah, listen to this explanation. My exams are in May. I get my results in August. If the results are good and I pass my exams, then the next step is to look for a job. So I could say I'm going to look for a job in September. But what if I fail my exams in August? I have to resit the exams. I have to take the exams again in September. And I get the results from those exams in December. Great. If I pass them, I will look for a job. If I don't pass them, I have to take them again and then wait. So I don't know exactly when I'm going to look for a job, but I do know that that moment is going to happen at a moment in the future in which I can say to you, I have passed my exams. So the only thing I can tell you is I'm going to look for a job when I have passed my exams. Or I'm going to look for a job once I have passed my exams. Again, we can say I'm going to look for a job when I pass my exams. That's fine, perfectly correct, perfectly acceptable. But as I said before, probably the more common one is to use the present perfect when I've passed. Okay, we'll look at one more example. By the way, my free book is a good resource to have because that explains a lot of these typical mistakes that students make, like these tenses. When you have a minute, click up there, get the book, it's free. Enter your email, I will send it to you via email immediately. Anyway, the link is up there or in the description. Let's go with the last example, which is using a question. Can I borrow that book when you have finished reading it? Can I borrow that book when you have finished reading it? So again, the moment I'm talking about is a moment in the future when you can say, hey, Greg, I have finished reading this book. Okay, when that moment comes in the future, can I borrow it? Okay, super important thing. Write one example sentence using this tense in the comments below. And in the first few days of this video, I will correct them. Okay, I want you to speak advanced English. This is an advanced topic of grammar. There's another video there that I want you to watch with another complicated couple of tenses. And the video I mentioned at the beginning of this lesson was the difference between the past simple and present perfect. I definitely recommend you watch that too, because that is a very common mistake that students make. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next lesson. Bye for now.